Core. 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 You are listening to Core, a show on Code Zero Radio that plays bands located in the Fox Cities. A show to find and discover new music. Hosted by Andy McNamara.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Fox Cities Core. Got a great show for you today. If this is your first time tuning into Fox Cities Core, we're a show on WCZR Code Zero Radio featuring a lot of local talent from the Fox Cities. We exclusively talk about the Fox Cities during this hour. I've got a great band here today that I've been trying to get for quite a while. I'd like to welcome to the studio Jon and Zach from Ifdakar.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How we doing?
Now, you guys had a situation, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit, where you guys had an album that you worked very hard on, and then COVID hit. So with that, like, and I'll just say up front, you guys worked on this album for 2 years?
4 years.
Well, 4 years.
3 years until the release. So we started the project in 2017. I was thinking about it the other day, and it's kind of like the lost album. You know, we started going down to Michigan to record with Jake from Umphrey's, and that was such, a great experience, and all that goes with that. But we were getting ready to release it, and COVID hit. So we're sitting there for a year with this great album that we just think is amazing, and nothing to be able to do with it, to release it and to go out and tour and do all those types of things. So we sat there on it, and what do? This hopefully COVID lasts 6 weeks or 6 months, whatever. Well, obviously it didn't. So we made the decision to go ahead and release it anyway, just because we wanted to get it out there. But we haven't been able to play any shows to promote it or anything like that. So now we're looking at a new batch of songs, and that's kind of where our focus is. So this amazing album that we put so much time and effort into, it's kind of just sitting there. So we're looking forward to not only getting out and playing some new stuff that we're working on currently, but to be able to share that album, that music with people as well. So it's kind of like a, 2 albums for one, basically, is what it's going to end up being.
Well, the latest album, Lion's Share, I did notice too, listening through your catalog, you had some special guests on the latest album, and I noticed the overall feel, and this might just be something that isn't there that I'm noticing, but it had more of a laid back feel compared to the previous albums. I wonder if that was intentional, or was that because of the additional influences that you guys brought in for this album?
I don't know why we were laid back.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I think that's a really good question. The first album, of course, we did in 2009, 2010, in the winter of 2009, I believe. And we'd never been in a studio before, let alone, working on an album. This was new to us. This was when Rock Garden was over on Newberry. We had a fairly new drummer. There wasn't a whole lot of vibe going on. There's just a bunch of original songs that we had, worked on since the inception of the band, just to get ready to play. So I think you have a point when you listen to that record, everything is pretty quick. There's not much groove to it. I love that album for what it is, but then you fast forward to Lion's Share, we were a little bit more comfortable with who we were, what we were trying to do as musicians. None of us are virtuosic, except for maybe Michael, the keyboardist. But, we're comfortable with who we are and what we do best. And I think that's writing songs. So perhaps that gave us a little bit more leeway as far as, the energy and just kind of being able to do our thing and just let the product speak for itself.
Yeah, we had a lot of personnel changes along the way, too. It might have something to do with it. Right?
Yeah, that's true.
We'll back up a little bit. So when did Ifdakar, who started Ifdakar, and what year did the band start out?
As I was getting ready this morning to come over, it dawned on me that around 15 years ago this month is when we started really, it was basically me and Kurt, who's not here today, but and a couple other high school guys. We were just jamming out at Kurt's house, and after several months of doing that, we thought, okay, well, maybe we should do something for real. Like, we got some original stuff. The covers we're doing are pretty cool. So let's try to come up with a name. So we had this big dry erase board, right? And we're writing down all these names. One of them was the pineapple candle experiment was one of the offerings from Rick, the keyboardist at the time. And I came up with this idea for the green lot in reference to the parking lot at Alpine Valley, which is the furthest one away. And my thinking was, so you park in the green lot and it's a long, arduous journey to get to where you want to go. And that's kind of what I was envisioning for the band. This is going to be hard. This is going to take forever. But eventually we'll get to where we want to go. I loved it. I thought it was great. I didn't have the same enthusiasm from my bandmates. So Kurt at the time, he said, well, why don't we just name the band Ifdakar, which was the name of a guy we went to high school with, Ifdakar Mien. And he thought he was just going to be, trolling me more or less. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I went home that night. I made a MySpace page and uploaded some of our practice clips. I spelled it wrong, of course. I think it's Ifthakar, I believe is the correct Indian spelling. But I spelled it with a D, of course, in Northeast Wisconsin tradition, everything with the D and an A. So yeah, that's kind of the genesis of the band. Zach was, we had a couple bass players that had, a cup of coffee with us right at the beginning, but Zach's been there from the start too. So that's kind of the genesis of where Ifdakar came up and where we started, when we started. So this summer will be our 15-year anniversary.
I think you guys had like one gig before.
Yeah, one or two,
right before and then I came to your second gig, I think. I remember.
Yeah, and our bass player at the time knew he was there and did not care for that. There was a lot of turmoil in the beginning, and I'd say unfortunately, but also fortunately, that turmoil as far as band members kind of carried on. We've had a lot of different people in and out. But I think at this point, all that stuff was worth it. That journey to where we are, to reference the green lot idea again, is, it was worth it. So I think at this point we are, again, comfortable with who we are, what we do, and looking forward to just making more music.
I think the band name it's very unique. The first time I heard it, it took me a while to pronounce it.
Yeah.
Because for some reason I just couldn't. Now it's easy. I don't know why I ever had a problem, but it took me a while to learn how to say it and then how to spell it.
Yeah. A lot of promoters and people that book us, they think it's an acronym because it's not a real word. I misspelled it, number one. So it's even the real word that it's derived from is difficult. But so a lot of promoters will put it as all capital letters. So we'll be on a bill with, capital and then small letter bands, and then us, Ifdakar, real big. So it oftentimes makes us look like we're something different than the other groups. So I guess that works for us too. Whatever we can get, because like I said, none of us are, blowing the doors off with our musical prowess. We just kind of do what we do.
Well, you're kind of downplaying Ifdakar's musical talent, but if you've never been to an Ifdakar show, if this is your first time hearing of Ifdakar, you guys are all like musicians, like in the sense of the term. Like you guys are all good at your instruments. But the shows are really fun, and I think you guys are known for your live shows. I've seen you guys a couple times, and there's always people dancing.
Ideally, yes.
But I mean, when you guys started, so 15 years ago now, we're looking at 2006
would have been the, this time 2006, and then our first gig was July 13th, 2007, I believe.
So that was prior Mile Music,
Well,
prior a lot of stuff. How was the scene in that year versus how it is now?
There was Cool Waters Band, Unity, Digstown, and that's it. That's it.
What about Grayleaf?
Grayleaf, yeah, our friends in Grayleaf. It was very limited, which is one of the reasons that, we kind of expanded our horizons and started the We Jam promotional network to kind of try to start something. And then Mile Music, of course, came in and kind of ran with that baton as well. And where we are today in the Appleton and Fox Cities music scene, and with help with groups like you, it is miles and miles apart. No pun intended there. But people in this area, I think, should be very thankful that there have been people out there doing the heavy lifting to make it a destination for music, because it was not like this 15 years ago.
Right. Yeah, Cranky Pats was about the only place we could play.
Yeah, I mean, we strived. That was our goal. If you look at where we were, where did we want to get to? It wasn't we want to be a touring band. We want to play at the Orpheum. It wasn't any of that. It was we want to play at the pizza place. Right. And that's what we wanted. And
here we are, 15 years later, still playing at the pizza place.
We're going to be playing there in a few weeks, or a couple of weeks.
Let's talk about that since you brought it up.
Yeah.
You're doing a show on November 24th at Cranky Pats in Neenah, a day before Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Cranky Pats, would you consider that Ifdakar's home base if you had to pick one?
It certainly was.
For a long time we played there a bunch of times. There's still posters on their wall.
Yeah, they
all over town.
What's the word? Memorialized a few posters. They put the lamination or whatever on them, and they got them hanging up. And we've got several. I mean, we must have played there 40, 50 times over the years. I wouldn't have the exact number, but like I said, that's what we strived to do to get there. And I think the booking agent at the time, I think his name was Brad Knapp. Mm-hmm. And we finally got an email from him, and I called Kurt, and it was a MySpace message. It was back then yet. And we were just so excited, and we had a lot of really cool memories from that place. And was it the 24th, November 24th? That's going to be another one. Looking forward to getting back there. It's been a long, long time.
How can people get tickets to this?
They can go to Afton, AFTON tickets.com /IFTA giving. So like Thanksgiving, but with IFTA in front of it. Or you can just check out the Facebook event page, the Thanksgiving Eve with Ifdakar. One thing that I don't think we've announced anywhere, but we're going to have our friend Greg Lobbs playing saxophone with us throughout the night. He used to be in the group Soul Symmetry, really awesome group from Stevens Point. I don't believe they're active anymore, but he's just a fantastic saxophone player. And I personally love Ifdakar with horns. So any opportunity that we can get to have horns, I'm all for it. So it should be exciting.
Zach, you play a 6-string bass.
Yeah.
Is that something that you just... do you prefer 6 strings on a bass? How did that happen?
No, yeah. I grew over time. I had a 4-string and then a 5-string and then a 6-string. They just kind of kept on adding strings as I went along. But once you know where all the notes are on a 4-string, it's easy to move up.
Wouldn't be easy for me to add a string, I'll tell you that.
No.
No.
Does that just give you like more versatility as far as like not having to move all the way up the neck? And
you can stay in a pocket like a little bit easier, and it gives you a couple more octaves to work with. Yeah.
You brought up playing with the brass on the new album, and I'll probably butcher the name. You guys had a very seasoned player that. Got his notes here, but if you know his name, you can just
Willie Waldman.
There you go.
The world famous Willie Waldman. Let me tell you a little bit about Willie Waldman. He has played from everybody from Perry Farrell and Jane's Addiction to Snoop Dogg and Tupac, Grace Potter.
He's on Death Row. Was on Death Row Records.
Yeah, he has a platinum album hanging in his house for his work on Snoop's The Dogfather record. He knows everybody. He used to hang out with Glenn Frey from the Eagles. He's played
with Bob Weir of the Dead, Grateful Dead.
Exactly. This guy. So at summer camp, which is a festival in Illinois, several years ago, we saw Willie, and we had known him from. He came around back in the late 2000s. This company called Organic Entertainment would do some shows with some bigger acts in the area. And Willie played some of those big events, and we met him there. So then we kind of lost touch with him over the years. We saw him standing there at summer camp. We said, "Hey, is that Waldman over there?" Sure enough, it was. So we went and said hello. He remembered who we were instantly, and we hung out with him and partied with him all weekend. And he started telling us, "Oh yeah, I'm friends with Jake from Umphrey's, and I can get you guys down in the studio." We're like, "Yeah, right. That's never going to happen." Well, of course it did happen. And Willie is one of these guys that has stories about anybody. If you have an hour to spend in a six pack of beer, sit down with Willie and you will hear some of the funniest stories you've ever heard in your life. And one thing I've learned about him over the years is he might sound like he's just blowing wind, but he's not. Everything that he's got to say is true. So we're very lucky to have him obviously introduce us to Jake and that whole crew there. But for him to produce the album, he was in the room with us every step of the way, telling us, "You got to do this, you can't do this." And we never had that before. We always just went in there, we know everything, blah, blah, blah. Well, we didn't. He went in there with the LA style of producing a record, which was really helpful. And he taught us so much. And then obviously him playing on the record, you can hear, how good he is and why he is the legend that he is. So the whole thing was just really a great experience.
He appears on 3 tracks, right?
Right.
I believe that's right. Yeah. The Ghouls, the opener, Heroin Baby, and Rider. And End of the Road, which is like the hidden track at the end of the album.
And I cut you off, Zach. I'm sorry.
He's always been one who wants to bring up younger musicians as well. Like, I actually met him back in 2001 or 2. We were playing. Back in an older band. I played in the Shulbillies, and we were playing at the Big Blue Family Reunion, and all of a sudden, this horn player came up and started playing with us, and we're like, "Who the hell is this guy?" And afterwards, he's turned out to be Willie, and he's like, "Oh, I should come down and play. You guys are from Mass. You should come play with us this week." And we went. He played at what was it, Luther's Blues back then, and he brought us all up on stage, and we jammed like a couple songs. That's like when Rob Wasserman was playing with him and everything. I don't know. So he's always been one to bring up younger musicians. Yeah.
You said you could give him beer and he'd tell you stories. What stories did he tell you guys?
Not safe for 9 a.m. Let's just say. He's got some stories though.
Snoop Dogg stories, Perry stories.
Yeah.
The Snoop Dogg stories would probably be pretty interesting.
It's funny, the ones that you think are going to be boring, like about Glenn Fry and stuff like that. Like, oh yeah, tell me the ones about Tupac. But those are the ones that are like a little more tame. Then you talk about, Glenn Fry, the Eagles guy. That seems like such a mild-mannered dude. Well, I'll just let Willie fill you in on the next time he comes up, which should be soon. I would think we're working on something with him. I don't want to let too many cats out of any bags, but Willie is going on a big tour, and he always likes to try to get up this way. He calls it Green Bay. We tell him a million times it's Appleton. It's not Green Bay, but it don't matter. So so we're trying to work something out with. What he does is it's called the Willie Waldman Project, and it's all improv. He tries to gather great musicians. He always has a really, really great crew. So we're going to try to get him something here in Appleton, and then some of us from the band will join him on stage and just improv. I'm not sure when or where, or even if it's real. So there's that.
Can we prod you to see if you know any more information than you're letting out right now? Another exclusive?
It would... It would be a free show. That's I don't want to say anything.
So Jones Park, it's going to be at Jones Park. Do you have a date figured out yet?
No, I don't know anything.
All right. Well, I look for it. Let me know the date, and
I will. Yeah, I'll write it down here and slide it across the table. No, we're working on it, and we'll see.
Getting back to Mile of Music, you guys have played Mile of Music multiple times. How did that feel to get in front of the Mile of Music crowd?
It felt pretty good. It's kind of surreal because we'd been playing around here for so long, and then we finally got invited to play, and then we got some pretty good gigs out of it. Like what's the
Emmett's?
the hotel.
Oh,
we played at the ballroom at the hotel.
Yeah, the Red Lion Ballroom was a good one.
Yeah.
This past
Oh
year,
yeah, Emmett's
outdoor stage was probably our best turnout.
Yeah, you brought up Jones Park. We didn't get to play that one because we got rained out.
Yeah. But I was saying to somebody at my day job the other day, they were asking about Mile of Music, and I said, yeah, we had one of our big ones, the Jones Park gig, rained out, and they were really sad for me, and I was like, well, we got to play 3 of our 4 sets this year. There's some bands that come in from Nashville or wherever else, and they only have 1 set on the books, and they get rained out. That's it. They drive home. So for us, I drove to Jones Park. They told me it was over. I turned around. I drove the 2.5 minutes to my house, and I was back in bed. It's fine. So,
yeah, I mean, the day before Jones Park, you guys ripped it up over at Emmett's, and you got to do McFleshman's the day after.
Yeah, McFleshman's musically was probably my favorite set of the weekend. Like it was the least attended, and I don't mean that in a bad way. It was just a smaller crowd. It was Sunday afternoon. But musically, we made an effort to kind of play a little more subdued. It was a smaller stage, a smaller space. And when we want to, we can be really loud. We can be really, high, and we were like, okay, let's just try to mind the space between the notes, that kind of thing. And we played, we have one ballad, and it's called Tonight. It's on the Get Some album. We played that, and it's funny. I right before we played it, I said it was my parents' 50th wedding anniversary, I believe, or maybe 51st. Anyway, so I said, this is my mom's favorite song, right? And then somebody in the crowd said, oh, that's so sweet. And then the keyboardist right next to me, he said, oh, that's funny. This is my mom's favorite song too. And she's right there, and then a bunch of people in the audience are like, oh, and then we played it. And, so it was just a cool thing. It was kind of a departure for us to kind of settle down a little bit and just kind of focus on, the intricacies of the notes rather than rah. And we're not a metal band by any stretch or anything like that, but we can get a little lost in our intensity sometimes. So to be able to pull back from that was really cool to me. So that was my favorite moment of this year.
Is there somebody in the band that does the driving up toward the direction of the band, or are you guys collectively figuring out where to go next? I mean, you bring up a good point. I mean, somebody in the band might decide they want to start doing a certain move towards a certain direction.
Do you mean in the moment, like while we're playing?
No, I just mean in general.
In general, I think me and Kurt do a lot of the administrative stuff, but musically, we're all pushing this boulder uphill. I was talking to my keyboardist the other day, Michael Romanesco, and he said he's been in the band for 6-7 years now, for a while. But he said, one of the greatest things about this group is nobody ever says no. Like when he first joined, he had this hip hop song that he wanted Frank, the drummer at the time, he wanted Frank to rap it, to do his hip hop rappings. So he had this whole story written over the first few months that Michael was in the band. He picked up on the fact that we say a lot of the same things over and over again. We have jokes that, are revolving. So he took all this info and he wrote it into this cool rap. And he thought we were going to say, no, we're not going to do that. And we said, yeah, sure. Why not? And that's kind of how we look at everything, whether it be an original idea or a cover idea or anything like that. We're not going to say no to anything. We'll give it a try. If it doesn't work, man, I mean, you can tell if something doesn't land. You can also tell if something just needs a little more seasoning. So it's a collective. If somebody has an idea for a cover song and, somebody in the group says no, I've never seen that happen. So we're pretty willing to try anything stylistically, thematically. And given that freedom, everybody feels a little looser, You know, it's not so rigid. People can come with their ideas. What we're doing right now, we're developing ideas at home, and sharing, you know, electronically and digitally and everything. And then after this Thanksgiving show, we're going to come together with our ideas with the intent of having 10 to 12 new songs plus a handful of new covers, so that when we start playing again heavy in spring, we'll have, you know, basically a full new album's worth. And so that freedom really allows people to just kind of go to their own corner, create, come to the table, and see what we have.
Do you guys like to test out new material in a live setting before recording?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think just about all our songs have been played live multiple times before they've been recorded.
I didn't know there was a different way. Yeah, that's pretty much what we do. You know, there's a song on Lion Share, the last listed track, Rider on the Angry Sea. That song was like the second original song I ever wrote. So that's 12, 13, 14 years old.
Took a while to refine it.
Took a long time to refine it, and we stopped playing it for years. And a lot of that kind of thing has to do with the revolving members. You lose members, so then
you lose catalog.
You lose catalog because you have to teach the guy, okay, what are our 5 songs that we must learn, must play, and then and that happens 10, 12 times. That's gonna, you know, slow you up a little bit. But that song was kind of lost for a little bit. We needed one more song to make Lion Share a full album, and I said, hey, I got this one sitting there. You want to do it? And it turned out really good. I'm so glad that we did it. We had those backup singers on there. It was really good. So, yeah, doing songs, developing them, and then the only instance that I know of that we created a song for the album and didn't play it live was Heroin Baby. If you remember, we needed another song yet for Lion Share.
Well, End of the Road too, right?
End of the Road, I had.
But that wasn't really played as a band on the album.
Yeah, right. But yeah, Heroin Baby, we needed yet another song, and Kurt had this just a little tiny riff, and we got together as a group, and we took this little nugget of an idea and literally wrote the entire thing together, basically in one practice. And that's how that song came to be. And that's the only time I ever remember doing it like that and not playing it live before it went on an album. So I think that most bands do it in reverse, but we didn't even know that was an option.
Well, I think if you don't play them live first, there's a bigger chance that you'll record and then all of a sudden decide you prefer playing them.
Yeah.
You know, and then maybe somebody in the band will want to re-record what you already recorded.
Right.
They do tend to change over a course of time too. They
do. Yeah.
Even some of the ones we've recorded have changed and like take sections out and move them around. And
if you listen to Kool-Aid Man on that first album from 2010, it's not drastically different, but it's different enough. You know, it's not what it is today. You know, so. That happens.
Well, even Funk You and off of Get Some.
So on the latest album, you guys crowdfunded it.
We did.
Right? And that you were successful.
Yeah.
How was it putting yourself out there to do something like that? Would you ever consider doing that again? I
would prefer not. It was embarrassing to a degree. The people were very, very supportive, and for that, we'll always be thankful. I mean, like I say, the lost album, as I kind of refer to it now, I'll be able to look back on that. We all will, in our old age, and say, wow, look at this. We have one of the best musicians on the planet, not only performing on the album, but he produced it, he mixed it, mastered at a great studio in Los Angeles. I mean, it was a once in a lifetime experience. So I'm glad that we did it. It felt weird to me, I didn't love it, but I think we were able to give value to the people that helped us. And there are still a few things. We still have to do our album release party, which we haven't done yet.
You guys had that canceled.
We had it canceled.
We scheduled it like 2 or 3 times.
Yeah,
I think,
and so we have that, and there was a listening party to the album that was going to go along with that. So prior
Which
to
everyone's
the show,
already heard already.
everybody's already heard. But so what we're going to do at some point when it makes the most sense, we're going to have that album release party and do the listening party with snacks and beer and everything for the contributors. Obviously the album's out there. I'm sure people have heard it that want to hear it. But still, that's the one last thing that we need to do. But yeah, it took us a little while to get the shirts and get the albums printed and all that. But we did all that. If there's a young band out there that is looking to do that sort of thing, it does work. But again, it was a little odd for me. I just felt a little strange about it. But I am forever thankful to the people that helped us.
And you, as part of this, you went to Jake from Umphrey's house, his home studio, to record. I mean, was that
his dad's house?
His dad's house.
The one he grew up in. So this was his bedroom as a kid.
Was that pretty mind blowing to be at? I mean, you guys are all big Umphrey fans, to be at that space.
Yeah, there's memorabilia all over the walls of like posters from throughout the years, and just every little thing.
Backstage passes, a seat from Wrigley,
a hat from Wrigley from when they sang the anthem or sing the seventh inning stretch.
Yeah, it's not a shiny, studio space. This is this dude's space with his personal memorabilia hanging everywhere. Not to mention his guitars and everything else.
Oh yeah, all the gear.
Yeah.
Was it kind of hard to focus on getting what you guys needed to get done versus like asking him questions about his?
When he got there, yeah.
I think that's probably why he would come in spurts. You come, hang out for a while, do some stuff, hang out and talk, and then take off for a while so we could focus, basically.
Yeah.
So
I mean, if you think about it too, this guy's on the road all the time, and then when he's not on the road, they're rehearsing, and so when he finally gets home, to then ask him to come and sit in a room with us for hours on end. That's probably a little too much. So he would pop in for a little while. He would record some parts. The majority of the work that he did on the tracks was after we left, so he would sit there with Jim Leap, the engineer, and they would go over it and they would mix and stuff. But yeah, it was tough. He's such a mild-mannered, gentle guy, but he's such a beast on on all instruments, really. So when he comes into the room, even though he's this mild presence, you feel, everybody gravitates towards him. You just turn and there he is with his little hat on, and it's hard. It was hard for me to focus. I've met famous people before that usually doesn't do much to me, but I was at a loss for words a little bit there at the beginning.
Then you feel a little bit bad because his kids are looking through the window like, Daddy, I haven't seen you in months.
Yeah. Well, he ripped some solos on the.
Yeah.
I mean, is that stuff you have to reproduce live?
Yeah, it's funny. There was a what's the word? A naysayer, let's say, that was all over our social media posts. He's like, "Oh, so who's going to be playing Jake's parts?" And we're just like, "Well, we are. Probably not very well, but we are." We're not going to try to reproduce that, so to speak. There are a couple signature riffs that he does, like in Soft Glow, that I've been able to mimic a little bit. But I mean, I'm no Jake Cinninger, so we just do. Again, we do what we do. I'm comfortable enough saying I'm not Jake Cinninger, and Kurt is as well. But what we think is the benchmark and hallmark of Ifdakar is the song creation, the songs themselves as a whole. So if we come at it from the angle, okay, now in this live setting, John's playing the solo, Jake's not here, of course. That's not going to bother me. I'm not going to lose any sleep over that. Plus, I think the songs are good enough to stand on their own with or without Jake.
To be fair, Willie's not there either. Right?
True. Yeah.
If anybody's got a question for Jon and Zach, you can leave the comment in the comment section, and we'll pull it up. Or you can give us a call. I'm going to put the phone number on a little later, but first I wanted to ask, so we talked about when quarantine hit, right when the album came out, I wanted to ask how you stayed engaged with your fans, because I know you did a few things over quarantine, including, I'll just bring up the live painting video by Norton Wisdom.
Yeah, Norton Wisdom. Yeah.
And it was a video with he was listening to one of your songs and doing a painting on a piece of glass, which was pretty cool. You should check it out if you haven't seen it. But Jon, you did a holiday live stream.
I did. That was December 16th of last year, I believe. Like you said, to figure out how to stay engaged over this weird time. And we other than the album that we released and couldn't do anything else with, we were sitting there for months. What are we going to do? And as a matter of fact, Fish released Sigma Oasis, and it was like a surprise, if I'm not mistaken. And they did this. It was basically a slideshow video they played on Facebook Live. They played the entire album with pictures from them recording, and ding, light bulb went off. I was like, hey, we have a new album. We're not doing anything.
We got pictures.
We got pictures. We got pictures from the studio. We got videos from the studio. So I put together basically a slideshow that shared, the whole album front to back.
I think that night you sent me a text and you're like, I got an idea. And then I was like, is it a video with picture?
so I put that together, and that was basically before the album went on sale, before the album was released, it was like a special release. So then after that, my wheels are turning. I'm like, well, I can do something else with this. And I had just recently started performing the songs just in my basement, acoustically, just to keep my chops up and stuff like that. And, when I'm rehearsing at home, I'll switch acoustic, electric, just to kind of keep that feel. Anyway, I thought I can pull this off. I can do this whole album acoustically with my loop pedal. My wife, Jessica, just got a new camera, so I was going to do a video, and I had to, like you were saying earlier, teach yourself how to do all this stuff. Took a while, but I was able to put together something that, I was able to share the songs in an acoustic way, tell some stories about it, and in that way, hopefully connect with the fans. And if you remember back then, everything was so isolated because we were coming off of the spring when it all started and the lockdown and all that. And then we headed into the winter with the shorter days and the, cold temperatures, and everybody, I felt, pretty alone, even though we just had a baby not too long before that, but musically, I felt kind of alone, like we needed to do something, and we weren't even getting together because, we have a couple of guys in the groups that have some, immunocompromised concerns, and don't even want to get into all that. But I needed something. I needed an outlet, and I thought this would be a great way to go about that. And I think it turned out pretty well. Little secret that I will divulge about it is I presented it as if it were a live video, but I actually edited the entire thing. I put it all together and then played it live. And there's one in particular part right before Idle Hands comes on. I am telling a story, and you can tell that I've had maybe one too many beers. And then after that song, I'm sober as a judge on Sunday. It was pretty funny. If you look back at it, you can tell, you're like, oh.
Was the feedback pretty good?
Yeah. It was great. We had a lot of viewers. A bunch of people bought albums, which was kind of the point. It wasn't like a commercial reason that I did it, but one of the points was to try to generate some awareness about the record. And, we sold 10, 12 albums that night alone. And of course, that was part of the reason. So in that way, it worked. It made me feel good to be able to do something. And like my wife says, I always need a project. And that was a good way for me to exercise some desires musically.
It gave me a little bit of a project too.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, John's like, it's not streaming.
Yeah, we had some issues, especially with
that was the first one.
The slideshow video. I had problems with, like, it would start and then it would start over like 3 minutes in, and then it did it again. Then it did it the third time, and I'm like, Zach, I need some help. So then going into the live video, the performance video, let's call it, I recruited Zach to help me with the streaming part of it. And
I think that was pretty much the reason why you did it, one of the reasons.
Well,
part of the reason.
I figured I needed. Careful.
Oh, yeah.
I figured I needed some professional help. When it came to the streaming thing, you bite off more than you can chew, and it's tough to swallow sometimes.
Another part of it that I thought was I set up all these lower thirds to put over top of it. And then the first time I put up one of those lower thirds on top of his video, he had already edited it in like a full screen, like and it had basically the same information twice on the screen. I'm like, don't. I didn't know he was gonna do that.
Yeah, I did all that stuff. I did it in Windows Movie Maker, and I had the transitions and everything. The song titles pop up. So if you're watching it, you're sitting there thinking, "Wow, these guys are really good at sliding these title cards in and stuff in the live setting." And I'm like, no, it's not live at all. But then, yeah, he added his own title cards and
on top of his title cards,
just the same info, just 2 different times. But it worked. It
sounds stressful, but
no, it was great. Both of those videos are still viewable on our Facebook page, I believe. So if anyone
Ifdakar.com.
Yeah, are they on there? I think
they're on Facebook.
Check Facebook.
Let's talk about the WAMIs, because I'm going to play a video from the WAMIs. You guys performed at the WAMI ceremony a few years ago. Can you tell me a little bit about that experience?
Want me to go?
Sure.
Okay. So how did that happen? Let me think. Am I the right man for this job? So our friend Jason Lipsky, who
Electric City Experience, which we should give a shout out to.
Yes. Another great local event that we're so glad and so happy that is back. And just to talk about the Electric City for a second, that was our first show after COVID. So, and it was a great crowd this past June. It was unbelievable. And we walked out on stage and actually like a roar from the crowd. And, as a local band, that's not typical. You know what I mean? The crowds are generally small enough, 50, 75 people, 100 people. You don't typically get a roar when you walk out on the stage, So for us coming out of COVID to that reception, super thankful for Jason for bringing that thing back, and for the Fox Valley people for showing up for us like that. But he reached out to us with an inquiry about whether or not we would like to perform. We'd been nominated, I believe, the year prior for
Get Some. Was it?
I don't even remember what it was for. We didn't win, so we don't care. But so he asked us if we wanted to perform. We said sure, absolutely. So we had to pick one song, and it was we picked Soft Glow, which was off Lion Share, and we rehearsed that song over and over and over. We would get together once a week and just run over that song like 3 weeks running. We did that, and we went down there. We sound checked. It was great. It was at the Pabst Theater, was it? Or no,
Turner Hall.
Turner Hall. Yeah. So we went and sound checked. The call time, stage time was like 9 a.m. or something crazy.
Oh yeah,
like that.
sound check. Right?
Yeah, sound check is super early.
Super
Then we
early.
weren't playing until like 7 p.m. So we went to Major Goolsby's and drank all day.
Which, yeah. Well, most of us, two of
Most
us,
of
one
us
of us
did.
went took a nap in the van.
Yeah, but so we sound checked. It was great. The sound in there was awesome. Everything's running super smooth. We go to Majors, everything's great. We eat some food, drink some beer. So we get up onto the stage, and the curtain's drawn, and Len Nelson goes up there, and now I'd like to introduce you to Ifdakar. The curtain opens. I go to play my guitar. Plunk. Nothing. No sound whatsoever. I try again, fiddle with the cable. Plunk. Nothing. And then you hear a couple out in the crowd. Everybody's just like, what is going on? So, but then boom, out of the darkness, stagehands come over. I didn't even do anything. I just stood there like this, and they unplugged a couple things, and boom, and there we go. We were ready to go. But I'll tell you, all that preparation, we're talking a month and a half leading up to this one song, and we were so dialed in and ready to go, and that happened. And there's actually an audience recording. Somebody had a cell phone and recorded it. And you could hear, because it's all musicians in that room, you could hear somebody say, "Oh, I've been there before." But then
top-notch sound guy. I mean, stagehands.
Yeah,
so.
stagehands. And then we performed the song, and it went over really well. And I gave it a little extra during my lead part because I was a little pissed off.
Let's view that performance. This is Ifdakar playing at the WAMI Awards show. You're watching and listening to Core on WCZR, Code Zero Radio.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to give it up for Ifdakar.
Just trying to make some time for me. Make some time was living. I said I don't want, no I don't need. I don't need to be forgiven, not by you or anyone else who thinks I need to push on. No, I just need your time to figure it out right. Who's gonna put me on to the other side tonight? Hoping you can help me. Hoping you can help me. Trying to stay inside the lines to see, inside the lines here driven. I take a step out, give a weak shout. Should I ask to be forgiven? I'm asking you and anyone else who thinks I need to push on through. No, I just need your time to figure it out right. What's gonna put me on through to the other side tonight? Hoping you can help me. 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 There comes a time you need to figure it out. If what I'm saying is true, you can't trust anything I say. I certainly can't trust the things I do. There comes a time you need to figure it out. If what I'm doing is right, now close your eyes, throw your head back, put your hands up, let's figure this out tonight. And I said, come get some. A soft glow of electric sex. I said, come get some. A soft glow, yeah. And I said, come get some. A soft glow of electric sex. I said, come get some. A soft glow. Inside the lines here driven, I take a step out, give a weak shout. Should I ask to be forgiven? I'm asking you and anyone else who thinks I need to push on through. No, I just need your time to figure it out right. What's gonna put me on through to the other side of the line? Hoping you can help me. Hoping you can help me. You can help me. Hoping you can help me.
That was Ifdakar performing at the WAMIs. Great performance. I hope you guys all enjoyed that. I've got the call-in line up on the bottom of the webcast if anybody wants to call in and ask your question in person. But we did get a question from Eric Heptis. He asks, John, are there any more Dark Tower songs forthcoming?
Hi, Eric. Thanks for reaching in, calling in, or messaging in. Well, we'll see on the Dark Tower song. So me and my friend Eric Hippis, may or may not be related to the messenger there. We wrote a song called Roland together. It's actually on the album Get Some. It's about Roland of Gilead from the Dark Tower book series by Stephen King. And it's a 7-book series, and Roland is basically a short musical adaptation of that first book of the series. And the idea has always been for me and Eric to write another song per book. And whenever you're ready, Eric, let's do it.
Thanks for the question, Eric. We had a comment, not really a question, but it's a comment from Justin Keel. He says he can't call in right now, but he wanted to let you guys know that he's watching as he flies over the Gulf of Mexico right now.
Nice.
Oh, wow.
I must be on an airplane watching on the plane. So that's pretty cool. Hi, Justin. Thanks for tuning in today.
Have fun wherever you're going.
Right? Sounds like fun.
Yeah.
It's a good, mention too, it's a good point in the show to mention it. Have you guys met a lot of bands, become friends with a lot of people through playing music?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you do something like this for, 15 years. That happens. Unfortunately, you see a lot of bands fall away, and I can't tell you how many bands we've played with over the years that are no longer bands, but some of them, you meet people, for example, the Useful Jenkins guys. They're from Minnesota, and they're behind the Revival Festival, which is Memorial Day weekend. They just got String Cheese Incident to play all 3 days. But we met them long ago. It must have been 2008, 2009. And for years, we would just see them once a year during the festival season, and, became like really, really close friends with these guys. Even though you only see each other once a year, you see each other, you give each other big hugs, you hang out all weekend, you party.
We'd always be the last ones up every festival.
The first time we met them, we were playing a festival in Michigan called Cabin Fever with a Pheeva. And we met them because we were standing around the hospitality barrel of beer that was upstairs in the green room, and they arrived and they came right for the beer too. So we, all weekend long, we're standing around this barrel of beer, just drinking and having fun, and basically lifelong friends made on the road. And that's, those are the types of relationships you really treasure when you do this type of thing.
Is there any possibility of a collaboration with some people from that band in the future? I mean, when you've had some pretty big collaborations already, I'll just put the new album here.
Actually, at Moondance this past year.
Oh, yeah.
We like to play one of Useful Jenkins' songs when we play our live show called This Life. And so we play that song live, and when they are in our neck of the woods, they always like to tell us that they're playing an Ifdakar song, right? So at Moondance this past year, they played it earlier in the day, and then we played it at night, and a couple of those members came up on stage and played it with us. So
and when they played it, they were like, "This is how it's done."
Then Pat,
and then you're like, "You better not play it," because
then Pat screwed up the words of his own song.
Right.
We've got a phone call, you guys. So let's switch to the phone.
Right
You're
on.
on the air with Ifdakar. What's your question?
Hi, I was just wondering, what lessons have you learned along the way that you could share with other people who might be wanting to do what you guys do?
Wow, that's a really, really great question. Patience is number one. As far as working with your bandmates, a little empathy. Everybody deals with trauma and grief and loss and all that stuff. And when you're with a group of people for any amount, considerable amount of time, people are going to go through difficult things. And I guess that includes the fan base too. Compassion, empathy. We've dealt with so many, not only in the band, but our friends and fans that have had awful things happen to them. You know, you lose parents, and you go down the list. And to be there for each other at the end of the day, none of the bells and whistles, none of that crap matters. What really matters is your family and your friends and the love you share with one another. Just to be there for one another. That's what it's all about. And that's kind of what we've always tried to promote. We're not necessarily a hippie-ish type of band, but the love that you can, just a simple message to somebody, if you know that they're not maybe doing so good, it can really change everything. It can let somebody know that somebody cares, somebody's thinking about them. So, especially in this day and age, just a little love, compassion, empathy. And as far as being in a band, like the actual, the process of trying to make it, if you will, I don't think that type of thing should be a focus for a young group. I think trying to figure out a way to write songs that, as Bob Weir said, are timeless. Not saying that all of our songs are timeless, but if that is your endeavor, to write art, to create art that is going to last, you'll be okay. Trying to, be something that you think you're supposed to be, that's a recipe for disaster. So just be true to yourself as an artist and try to speak. I always look at it when I'm writing, like the songs are there and I'm just kind of getting them out of this piece of stone. I'm just sculpting them, but they're already there. So just find that inner voice and let the art speak for itself. And that's what I would say to that. I appreciate that question a lot.
Yeah, thanks for the question. We had another question as well. This question's from John. It is, how do you get the energy and the excitement for each show after 15 years of performing?
Whiskey.
That's a great question. Whiskey.
Well, a lot of it's the crowd too. Like the crowd helps feed that energy. Like, I don't know. It's hard to say because a lot of times we get up on stage and like right up until that point, I'm dead tired, and then for all of a sudden you step out and all of a sudden this energy just kicks in and takes over,
That's a great point.
Yeah.
There's been so many times over the years where we've played, back-to-back shows or whatever. We don't do a ton of that anymore, but, traveling and, you're so tired and, all of us have, full-time jobs. And so like, particularly a Friday night show, it can be tough for some of us that worked 9-10 hours. But like Zach said, during sound check, you can barely keep your head up. And then as soon as, the lights go down, you walk on stage and people are excited to see you, boom, jolt of energy right in you. And so in a very real way, it is literally the audience that keeps us going.
Coffee helps too sometimes.
Well, I want to thank everyone that reached out with questions, comments, and calls. And how can people listen to the new album? How can they listen to your previous albums? How can they keep up to date? How can they find out more information on upcoming shows and all of that?
Well, all our music is on your favorite streaming service, whether it's Spotify or Apple Music or whatever. And you can find us online at Ifdakar.com. You can find us on Facebook and just about everywhere.
And you can find us live in person at Cranky Pats. Black Wednesday, the night before Thanksgiving. I believe it's November 24th, right? November 24th. It's a 9:30 start. We're going to start at 9:30. I know we always say we're going to start at a time and then we don't start, but we're going to start that early. So tickets are available online. Just aftontickets.com/IFDA-giving. And yeah, come and see us then. And
like Thanksgiving without the thanks.
Sure. That sounds good. Yeah. And, and like I was mentioning before, right now we are working on a whole new batch of new songs. We're not going to have anything new for the show. It's going to be all the hits. Cool. So heading into next year in spring, you can look forward to, a ton of new Ifdakar as well.
I want to thank you, John, and thank you, Zach, for joining me today on Fox Cities Core here on WCZR
Thank you.
Code Zero
It was fun.
Radio. And please come back
Will do.
anytime.
Oh,
Maybe next time we can get the full band, or
Yeah.
although the conversation was very delightful with just the two of you guys today.
Yeah.
We'll see if we they can make up.
Delightfulness just goes down, a little bit per member you add. So
Everybody, I suggest you go listen to this album, Lion's Share. And thanks again. And please join us again next week for Fox Cities Core. See
thank
you
you.
later, everybody.